What's up, YouTube? It's Kirk Maximus. Today I'm going to do something completely different. How do I make him look handsome? Is it the spikes? The color of his eyes? His horns? But I digress. No. This video is going to be more of a rant, a discussion about the most powerful lizards in Tamriel. Dragons. Yet, are they really considered considered dragons? You see, typical dragons found in fantasy games such as D&D and Black Desert Online, etc., usually have 4 limbs and a pair of wings. But Skyrim dragons appear to be more bat-like, with only 2 limbs and wings. These beasts are closer kin to wyverns than a typical fantasy dragon. Also, these so-called dragons in Elder Scrolls are timeless, genderless, and can sustain themselves on just magic. They don't need to go around and eat. They don't lay eggs. They don't breed. But they are pack animals, which most dragons in fantasy games are not. And I do say most. There are exceptions to this rule. The main thing that separates the Bethesda version of dragons from atypical dragons is the fact that these are actually originally from another plane, and they kind of phase in and out as if they feel. Like, you know how you summon a Daedra or an Atrodach or a familiar while you're in Skyrim? It's kind of the same way with the dragons. That's why Alduin's able to resurrect them so easily with just their bones. They kind of go on a time scale, a respawn timer when they die. In fact, the only ones that you'll find that makes it to Ancient Age is Parthenax. Ironically, I find calling them as dragons to be a contradiction in many ways, because Elder Scrolls dragons are much weaker than your typical fantasy dragons. I mean, hello, fantasy dragons, they can build towns, they can polymorph, they can make magical items, they collect hordes of freaking treasure, and they usually typically want to, that's their end goal right there, is to have a hoard of treasure to sleep on. I mean, Skyrim dragons do crave power. They do crave magical items, I think, because that's the reason why they went to elsewhere. But they don't actually seem to be hoarded that well, and they never built anything for themselves. Now, in the lore, they kind of tell us about how dragons ruled over man back in the time of myth, and I think they made dragon priests from supposedly using their magic with these priests. But I think the main reason they ruled over man back then was A, technology, and B, because people were just freaking afraid of the dragons. These flying wyverns of death that can just talk and spit out fire breaths and ice breaths and whatever. The main thing I want to really say is that my real agenda is, well, not only also to bash the dragons, but also to put this in a larger picture. You see, anniversary version of Skyrim coming out soon. It kind of puts in perspective on the whole Civil War. Because without the Dragonborn, the Imperials are just screwed in trying to fight the Civil War. You have the Stormcloaks, you have the Thalmor pulling all the strings in the background. You have hundreds and hundreds of freaking bandit camps everywhere. And on top of it all, you have dragons, which not only are in Skyrim, but like I mentioned earlier, elsewhere in their homeland for the Empire, as well as Hammerfell, and sometimes I think they also report some down the marshlands as well. Black Marsh? I could be wrong though. But you don't find any dragons at all in Vanley Wood or Morrowood or the Somerset Islands. And I do believe they don't go to Morrowind because the birds there chase them out. Kind of like you see when a crow flies in the sky and the little birds are chasing after it. It's funny how these supposedly big, powerful dragons are scared off by a pack of smaller birds. Well, actually, they're not birds themselves, but they're wyverns, yeah. But I think in the end, the real question between the Imperials or join the Stormcloaks, it should be the Stormcloaks. Because in the big picture for you, let the Stormcloaks win. I mean, I know Ulfric's he ends up being, you know, but his generals will take care of it. And then there you go. You have yourself a buffer state between the Thalmor and the Empire. And if the Thalmor try to invade Skyrim, then the Stormcloaks would deal with them, or just give them the nastiest freaking guerrilla war they've ever seen, just like the Imperials are going through right now with the Civil War. Actually, with the Civil War, it's more civilized than when if Skyrim was taken over by the Stormcloaks, because then it'd be, you know, like I said, guerrilla warfare if anybody else tried to invade them. Especially if the Dragonborn or Parthenax is Greybeards get on the side of the Stormcloaks. Then they could deal with the dragons. Then my biggest fear is, well, my biggest concern is if the Thalmor are capturing all these people. Because when you walk through Skyrim, you see Thalmor interrogating people about being who's a Dragonborn and who's not. So I think their end game is to figure out how to control the dragons themselves. Because if they could ride dragons into battle, game over right there. I mean, the Dominion was so powerful, they almost destroyed the capital of the Empire. And I do hope that this anniversary version, this new version coming out soon, will be fun to play for everybody, re-spark our interest in Skyrim. And most importantly of all, it's not broken like everything else Todd puts out. But anywho, tell me what you guys think. I'm sorry about the rant. If you want more or less of this, just let me know in the comments. I don't really like the way Bethesda created dragons. They're just beasts. They're not really a force to be reckoned with in reality. But I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Anywho, this is Kirk Maximus signing out, and hope you guys have a good one.